Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another show, for another episode of our Tactical Breakdown series, our show in which we look at the players that have been linked to Arsenal in a statistical and analytical way with the help of an expert to give us all that inside help, in addition to looking through their statistics, how they compare to the players that are already at the club and, of course, the players that we have also been linked to. And today we are talking about Sambi Lokonga, who is a midfielder from Anderlecht, Belgian youth international, and looking like he could even maybe possibly break into the senior Belgian side as well. He's a highly regarded player, and a player that you may have seen drop through your social feeds yesterday when the news kind of broke around a possible 12 to 15 million pound deal that Arsenal were interested in doing. I chased it up, got some thoughts and feelings from some Belgian media, and it wasn't as certain as what some of the English-based media were reporting. And you're going to hear a little bit more from that in a second, because to start off today's video, we're going to start off with our expert insight. And today I'm joined by PJ Kulkun, who's a fantastic Belgian-based journalist, part of Over the Guys at Leicester News, who is HLN. You may have seen plenty of people writing for them over in Belgium. But Peter is a guy that follows Anderlecht religiously, and so he knows everything about Lokonga, and so therefore he's a perfect guy to get some information from. So without further ado, let's crack on with what PJ has got to say.
Hi guys, thanks for having me. I'm Peter Kalkoen, football journalist for Belgium's leading newspaper at Leicester News. I follow Anderlecht on a daily basis, so I know Sambi Lokonga very well. I see all his games. You guys wanted to know some insight about Sambi Lokonga, so here I am. First of all, I cannot confirm Arsenal are preparing an offer for him. I know there is a lot of interest for Sambi Lokonga from the biggest European leagues. According to my information, AC Milan is following him, Dortmund is following him, Bayern Munich is following him, CVO is following him. I would not be surprised if he is on the list at Arsenal as well, but according to my sources, there is no offer made yet. You guys wanted to know what kind of football player Sambi is. Well, Sambi Lokonga is the captain of Anderlecht already. He is a leader in the dressing room. He's not a guy of the motivational speeches, but he's leading by example. Sambi is a guy who is always taking his responsibilities. So that's a good point already. Sambi Lokonga is very self-conscious. He knows he's good, and to be honest, he is. He's good. He's one of the key players at Anderlecht. Mostly his passing skills are impressive, very reliable passing skills, and that gives him the possibility to build up from behind, which is really important at Anderlecht, where he plays as a defensive midfielder. He could play as a number 8 as well because of his technical skills, but at Anderlecht he's playing as a defensive midfielder. Sambi has a lot of talent, otherwise he would not be preparing the Euros at the moment with Belgium's golden generation. He's training with Romelu Lukaku, Kevin De Bruyne, Dries Mertens, Thibaut Courtois, Eden Hazard, so he is talented. He's one of Belgium's most talented players, but still he has some points where he could improve. For example, his defensive work could improve. He could become a little more powerful, and his presence in the air could be better as well. But okay, he's still young. He can still improve, so that's not a problem. Which is a good point as well. Sambi Lokonga is not quickly impressed by the circumstances. A few years ago, I remember he played at Standard, Anderlecht, biggest rival. It's always an intense atmosphere, but he was still one of the best at a very young age. So if he would move to a bigger club, to a bigger league with bigger stadiums, I don't think he would be impressed he would be impressed that quickly. Anderlecht are aware Sambi should leave. I already wrote about that. Everybody is expecting him to leave because the interest is growing and the player feels ready to make the next step. But they won't let him go that easily. Sambi Lokonga is a key player for Vincent Kompany. He's every week in the team. Even though his stats, goals and assists are not fabulous, but he is important for the team. So Anderlecht are hoping to get at least 15 million euros. And it's not that easy for every club to pay those amounts. But I think wherever Sambi would go, he would fit, because he's really talented. He would do well everywhere, I think. So that was it, guys. I hope it was interesting. All the best. Bye-bye.
A massive thank you there to PJ Colquhoun. You can find him on Twitter. He is in the associated tweets. You can find us at the Gooner Talk TV. You can find him on Twitter at PJ Colquhoun if you want to find out lots more information about Belgian football, and of course the links that will, of course, probably persist that go into the window throughout Arsenal and Lokonga as we go through. So if you want to find out all about that, make sure you give him a follow. And of course, we do move on now to our next section of the video. I'm just going to throw this up on the screen for you guys so you can see it. We obviously kicked off with our expert insight, and now we go into our statistical focus and player comparison. Now, the players that I'm going to be comparing to are the ones that we have been comparing our central midfield targets to for a while. There have been some people in the chat box I've noticed asking us to compare them to the likes of Toyn Koopmeiners, etc. The reason why I still stick with the ones that we're linked to is until there's enough of kind of a wide berth of options, I want to specifically look at the players that we already have at the club and the players that we're also being linked to give you guys kind of the insight around how they compare to those. If we are linked to Koopmeiners in the future, I will make sure that we certainly cover him and start comparing him to players in this list. So we're going to be looking at how he compares to Bissouma, to Partey and to Granit Xhaka, which of course is important for a lot of people. These statistics are taken from Wyscout. They are put across their league performances specifically. So in the Premier League for Bissouma, Xhaka and Partey, and the Belgian League for Lokonga, and they are averaged across the 90 minutes. Let's kick off with the heat map starting initially. You can see how much coverage Lokonga has across the whole of the pitch. It is impressive how much he covers, more so than Bissouma does for Brighton so far this season, a lot more than Partey, and he doesn't skew necessarily to one or the other side like Granit Xhaka does in this case. Can sit as your number 6 and compress, or can be in more of a number 8 role. It's both of those that he's clearly adept to doing, as you can see from the heat map in the opposition's half and where he sits. Going into the defensive duels, he comes out very impressively with a 64.4% win rate on his defensive duels, which makes him second on the list behind Bissouma. But he does have the least in terms of defensive duels that he goes in for in terms of frequency. But the amount he wins is certainly impressive. Interception, he comes out the highest at 4.86, trying to win that ball back. But they are very, very condensed, these figures, all in the 4 points. But he does come out on top with a slight win at 4.86. Losses are the highest, though, as well, at 8.53. And his 41% of losses in his own half maybe do show a little bit of his immaturity in his game and maybe his overconfidence at times, but his recoveries are also excellent at 9.22. All of these players are in the 9 bracket for those, with only 39.2% though in the opposition half, showing you his more reserved positioning on the pitch. Passing wise, he has a decent passing accuracy of 87.8% for a young player. That is pretty good, and 55.36 passes per game is the third highest on our list, showing that he's still a frequent passer with a decent accuracy, just ahead of Thomas Partey, but below Bissouma and Xhaka. In terms of his long passing, 5.18 is certainly on the higher end compared to someone like Bissouma, slightly higher than Xhaka, not as high as Thomas Partey, but his accuracy is also decent at 60.3%. Passing to the final third and seeing how progressive he is. Again, he is still a very progressive passer with his balls. 10.55 passes going into the final third per match, with a 78.1% passing accuracy. Is the lowest on this list, but it's still nearer 80, which is certainly something you can get away with at the age that he is right now. Granit Xhaka, again, standing out in those passing statistics, as you would imagine. Passes into the box. This is where he starts to come to the fore as a little bit more dynamic. Now, if you think back to the Ruben Neves comparison we did, Ruben Neves had a passing to the box frequency of just over 2. Well, Lokonga has an even higher passing frequency into the box at 2.46 with 62.4% accuracy, the highest accuracy in this area. And this will certainly be a stat that attracts a lot of people to his profile because he's more proactive in the way that he wants to get the passes into the box to create chances for his teammates. A lot more proactive than the other players that we've seen so far on this list. So it's a really impressive statistic and shouldn't be taken lightly. Forward to backward pass ratio is also good. 18.79 forward passes compared to his 6.68 backward passes is a very good ratio, just under 3 times the amount of forward passes that he compares to his backward passes, trying to see them all moving forwards as much as possible. In terms of his dribbling, he's also the most successful on the ball with 2.98 dribbles per match and a 62.1% success rate with that dribbling skill as well. So in regards to his comparison of these players, he comes out on top with his on-the-ball technicality in the league. Now, you do have to apply the context of him playing in the Belgian league, which if he was to transition to the Premier League, we might see a dip. We've seen that with the likes of Sander Berger, who came from Genk, of course. So you could think about that correlation between the two leagues, but it's still important to look at how impressive his dribbling stats are and his progressive passing and passing into the box stats still are, despite playing in what would be defined as respectfully as a lesser league. If we're looking at his progressive runs, 2.2, again, he's really good at playing that ball for driving the team up the pitch from their own half into the offensive third as much and as quickly and frequently as possible. And finally, looking at his shooting statistics, this is where obviously you can see the style of guy when he comes to a shot, and it certainly comes from outside the box. You can see from that graphic, just over 1 shot per match with a 30.8% shot accuracy is actually the highest again on our list, higher than Granit Xhaka and Partey. Well, I mean, with Partey's outside the box shooting, we know what he's like, but twice as accurate as Partey, but not as frequent as the Ghanaian, but still providing a very, very solid shooting statistic from a deeper player in the midfield. So there is all of those statistics regarding Sambi Lokonga. Now we come to the part of the video where we get your guys' thoughts and feelings around the player. Let me know how you feel about this guy. For me, just to give you my brief thoughts while you're getting those into the chat box, I look at this signing as a little bit of more of a depth position, a little bit of a savvy piece of business. He's not going to be the Basuma, the high-profile player that Arsenal necessarily go for. With Granit Xhaka most likely leaving the club, we've already lost Danny Ceballos, of course. We could lose Maitland-Niles, Willock, etc. It's important that Arsenal don't just go out and get the one marquee central midfielder that we need. It is important that we add these younger guys to the team as well. And it's certainly a player that I think would add a lot of kind of a youth and potential to that position on the pitch. So that is something certainly to think about. I'm just going to go and quickly check his injury record. It was mentioned briefly by PJ, but let me just do a quick check on that because I know that a lot of you guys are very interested in seeing how injured these guys very often. But if you have got some thoughts on the Belgian midfielder, make sure you throw that into the chat box and we will get to those in just a second. So regarding his injury record, it's just coming up for me on the screen now. If Transfermarkt wants to work, here we go. Injury history. So the injuries that he's so far suffered at Anderlecht during his career, he has got a few. He missed 21 games during the 18-19 season because he did suffer from an ACL problem. 206 days missed, but he has recovered from that injury back in 2018 and hasn't really had to deal with too many problems. He had some fitness issues in 2019-20. He missed 4 matches, and this season he missed 4 matches again from an adductor problem. So he hasn't seen any issue with the knee since that problem that he had in 2019-19. He's certainly recovered from that. It's happened at a young age, so he's been able to recover from that quite quickly, and he's not had to deal with any he's not out for a significant amount of game, and he's not out very often as well. So that's not something I don't think you have to be too concerned with. Let's scroll up and see what you guys are saying in the chat box. Indanil says Sambi along with Yves Bissouma would make a lot of sense in my opinion. That way we have Partey, Bissouma, Sambi and Elneny. I think that's a decent midfield. Matt Williams says it looks like he would be a very sensible signing. That's why I have my doubts about it happening, which is very true. What is his pace and athleticism like? No sleep. Well, we saw from the heat map earlier on, he does get about the pitch excellently and he transitions the ball with his dribbling very well. So his athleticism is not something that's too much in question. For me, Mason Mount is a lot better than Bissouma, says Noah. Obviously, he's a completely different player in a different position. So that's a strange one. Alan says, this guy is not bad. Do you think we will experiment with a centre midfield with a cheaper option? We are going for Bissouma too, right? If yes, then no problem. I think Arsenal will be looking to go for more than one central midfielder this summer, should they look to move on from Granit Xhaka. Manu Clerks, so of course, a big shout out to Manu in the chat who did help us out with this expert insight. Really good and loyal listener in the chat who's always welcome to talk about Belgian and Dutch football. Manu says, really good spatial awareness, very positive player in breaking down low blocks, doesn't get pressured easily, but he is untested in the Premier League, filling that Witsel boots this summer, so might blow up in the future. I mean, you heard from PJ talking about how AC Milan are interested, Borussia Dortmund are interested. There is a lot of interest in Lokonga, and so if Arsenal want this guy, they are going to have to go in and really press for it. But as we do talk about, there is still a lot of questions about the legitimacy of the reports. They've heard nothing so far in Belgium about if Arsenal are actually one of those teams that are going for him, but he is someone that we should definitely be looking at from the looks of things. Like the video, people. 11 likes. Tom is working hard here. I am working for you guys. Please drop a like on the video. I really appreciate the support, as always. Thanks, mate. Mr. Joe Kerr says, do you feel we could move him on in 4 or 5 years for a profit in the future? All new signings should be done with the mindset to make money on them. I agree with the concept. Arsenal should be looking to buy players with big sell-on value in case they do move on. We're not in a situation where we're losing players for nothing or they've got no sell-on value at all. You need to protect your investment. So yes, I think this guy certainly has the potential to do that. He's an area of his age. He's only 21 right now, so he's got plenty of time to develop and improve, and he could have huge sell-on value in the future. Joshua says, hi Tom, love these insights. Have you considered doing insights just into our current squad to compare with our centre-backs and right-backs? I have, Joshua, because the transfer news is so crazy right now. We are focusing specifically on that transfer stuff, but we will look into more of that towards the end of the window when the business is pretty much done, and we're then focusing on how the team is going to line up ahead of the new season. So Hill says, Tom, would you like to sign him or keep Willock? I think both, mate. You look to keep Willock because he plays in more of an advanced attacking role in kind of that more advanced number 8, not all the way forward to a number 10, whereas certainly Lokonga is a player that's playing more of your 6 or your more reserved 8 role alongside Thomas Partey. So there you go. Manu says, and Elect just had a big rejected for his replacement. I heard they are planning on him leaving. Yes, they are planning on him leaving, as we heard from PJ earlier on in the video. We are going to wrap things up there. This is not your last tactical breakdown of the day, fingers crossed. We are also going to be doing a video focused specifically on Zeki Çelik from not only Turkey, but of course the champions of France, Lille. I'm going to be joined by Jeremy Smith to give you some expert insight, and hopefully the man himself, Simon Collins, who broke the story this morning on the London Evening Standard, is going to join me as well to give you some exclusive insight also. So make sure you tune in for that a little bit later on this early afternoon, probably around 2:30 UK time. But other than that, it's been a pleasure to speak to you guys. Please drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel so you can keep getting your up-to-date Arsenal transfer content, educated about all of our possible transfer signings, so you're in the know about who they are, what they are, and what you can expect to see from them in the future. It's been a pleasure to speak to you guys, as always, and as always, up the Arsenal.